Before we start, I'd like to ask I know you all just sat down, but ask our elected officials to please rise if you're an elected official in the room. And we want to thank you for your service. You have one of the toughest jobs in Manatee County, I can attest to that. And I want to just thank you for your service. Sometimes it's a job that many people don't thank you for, so we really appreciate what you do and your dedication to our community. I also want to thank our sponsors. We can't have these sponsors without the help from Kaiser University and Mosaic. They enable us to put on these very important functions. Thank you very much. And I'm very pleased today to have Mayor Poston come. He's going to introduce our speakers today. So I want to invite Mayor Poston up here to the podium. Thank you all. Enjoy.
Thank you all. Thanks for coming. It's an honor for us to be here and have this conversation. Hope you all are attending spring baseball games from McKechnie Field. That's a good thing. And as one of the members in the audience knows, she threw the first pitch out yesterday, and I told our school superintendent that the Pirates won her for late innings today. Did a great job. I have two chiefs here today. I guess one ex-chief. First time, I rarely ever see Raz without his uniform. This is one of the first times. He's been my chief for almost 14 years, so professionally and personally we're connected. Chief began his career in 1970. He spent more than 3 decades on the police force in Washington, D.C. Moved to Florida in 2002 to become chief of the Bradenton Police Department, and only planned to run the department for 2 or 3 years and then retire. Turned out retirement came 13 years later. And it's lucky for me because I'm the police commissioner as well as the mayor of the city of Bradenton. And lucky for us, as head of the Bradenton Police Department, he focused on crime fighting and prevention through a more accountable organizational structure, new equipment, technology, and an enhanced strategy of community policing. He put more officers on the street, answering calls and partnering with the community. The time that Raz was here, crime went down 38%. In D.C., he coordinated all aspects of presidential inaugurations with the United States Secret Service, the Armed Services Inaugural Committee, and other agencies with the federal and local governments. As the last 2 inaugurals, we had members of the Bradenton Police Department on the streets up there helping with the inaugurals. We may need to call on Chief Raz for the 2017 presidential inauguration. Somebody's going to have to do something about that, Chief. He's received numerous awards for distinguished service. We're very proud that he chose Bradenton to keep our streets safe. Chief, I want to thank you for your outstanding dedication to the community and for being my pal. I'm honored to ask Chief Raz to the podium.
Yes, whoever would have thunk it, here I am some 45 years later. In 1970, this 20-year-old skinny kid walking a beat in a black neighborhood in Washington, D.C. By the time I left there, I was responsible for the motorcade security for the president and the vice president and all the heads of state and every other special event in Washington, D.C. So I just like in Bradenton, when I knew it was my time, I knew it was my time then to leave. Fast forward coming to Bradenton, yes, I only expected to stay 2 or 3 years. I think the average police chief tenure in the state of Florida is only about 3 years, 3.5 years, so I outlived my usefulness, I guess. I figured that out one day last April, and I told the mayor and the city council about this at a city council meeting, why I figured out that I needed to retire. And one day I went to the food store and I was going through the aisles putting my food in. I got to the checkout counter and I looked inside the basket and it dawned on me that more than half of the items were labeled for instant relief. And so it got worse after that. That following weekend, my buddy called me, who I've been on the D.C. Police Department with, and he went to Philadelphia to work with Chief Ramsey, and I came down here. And he called me up, and he confided in me, and he told me he was having an affair. And I said, well, is it going to be catered? And then, yes, it finally dawned on me what type of affair he was talking about. So what am I doing now to keep myself busy? Well, now I find myself going to Walmart and going to the food store with the wife, and Walmart actually sent my wife a letter that said, don't bring him back anymore, because I kept running up and down the aisles going, code 3, code 3. But I also find myself standing in line more often at the prescription counter. And man, there are some interesting stories if you stand in that line, because everybody wants to tell the pharmacist their story. So I was in the Walgreens the other day, and here's this elderly lady. She had to be in her 80s. And she was arguing with the pharmacist over her getting a refill of her birth control pills. The pharmacist kept insisting, why do you need birth control pills? And she says, I use them as a sleeping aid. They put me to sleep. I can sleep well at night with birth control pills. And he said, well, that's impossible. You really don't need these to sleep at night. And she says, oh, yes, I do. I put one of those pills in my granddaughter's orange juice every morning, and I sleep well. After 13 years as the yes, I'm available now for bar mitzvahs and weddings if you should need somebody. After 13 years as the chief, see, at least somebody thinks I'm funny back there. The only goal I had was to make the city of Bradenton a better place to live in, to work in, to conduct business, or to visit. And after 13 years of rearranging the police department to having the officers stay in their neighborhoods and partner with the community, so now the officers who have been in those neighborhoods for so many years have watched these kids grow up, and it has paid off with a lot more citizen satisfaction, a lot more trust within the community, and a crime reduction. Certainly, there's always room to do more, and that's why I fully support and have great confidence in the mayor's selection as the new police chief, because I'm looking for even bigger and better things for her to even make the city of Bradenton even greater than it is right now. So, Mr. Mayor, if you would come up and introduce her. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
He's like that all the time. Our new Bradenton Police Chief is a 29-year veteran of the St. Petersburg Police Department. She served in a variety of specialized units, including vice and narcotics detective. Now, can you imagine a chief here riding around on a bicycle in South St. Petersburg selling drugs undercover? Because that's what she did. She's been a field training officer and supervisor, a SWAT team member, K-9 unit commander, intelligence unit commander, and street crimes unit commander, just to name a few. Most recently, assistant police chief at the Administrative Services Bureau in St. Petersburg. She's an adjunct professor of leadership studies for USF St. Pete and adjunct professor of Homeland Security for the State College of Florida. She also performs contract work for the Officer Office of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball. So we may see her at spring training games. Those little holograms that you see on specialized things that Major League Baseball sells, she checks those out and makes sure they're straight. This really is an authorized Major League Baseball item that you can buy. So she's doing that work. Chief Bevan was appointed by Attorney General Pam Bondi to serve on the Automobile Insurance Fraud Strike Force as one of the 2 statewide representatives. We welcome her to Bradenton. We're looking forward to hearing more about her, and there's a big story and a long story about that. But welcome to Bradenton.
Good afternoon, everybody. You really are pretty funny. And I'm not sure when it's going to dawn on you, although you announced to everybody that one of the reasons you hired me is that I have a good sense of humor, that it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to that. At some point, hopefully that's not one of the causes that she really wasn't as funny as I thought. She's gone. Anyway, it's an honor to have been invited here today and meet with all of you and share a little bit about myself and some news coming out of the Bradenton Police Department. As the mayor said, my name is Melanie Bevan. I'm the new chief of the Bradenton Police Department, so employed for 15 working days now. And I've been hitting it pretty hard and strong. This past week was actually my first real weekend off, first couple days. As he said, before I came here, I worked in a variety of positions at the St. Pete Police Department, retiring after 30 years of service. So as not to reveal my age, I typically like to tell people that I was hired when I was 13. But of course, that's not true. But I did become a police officer 1 month after my 20th birthday and was out there writing tickets, arresting bad guys, the whole shebang, before I was even old enough to buy bullets for my gun or go out with my squad for a drink after work. I was that young. So I'm going to talk fast for my allotted time of exactly 12 minutes. I was told I have 12 minutes to talk, and let you all know a few things about myself and the direction that BPD is heading in. I'm very excited to be the chief where Chief Raz is leaving off. His leadership over the past 13 years has truly resulted in an exemplary agency full of dedicated and hardworking officers who tirelessly serve the city of Bradenton each and every day, and I'm sure many of you all would agree with me. I have assured him that I will advance his vision of innovative, inclusive, and accountable leadership throughout the agency. I know that was very important to him. I'm thrilled to be working in the Friendly City. I hear every day that this is the Friendly City, alongside some amazing individuals, both within the police department and throughout the city, and really throughout the community. And I look out in the audience and I can tell that we have a very supportive community. This room is full. So some statistics for you. I'm a fan of statistics. At last count, there were about 800,000 full-time federal, state, local law enforcement officers taking up space in roughly 15,000 policing agencies. Bradenton has 120 of those officers and a combined civilian and sworn staff of about 150. That actually classifies us as a mid-sized agency, believe it or not, bigger than 85% of police departments in the nation. A lot of people think maybe we're small. We're not. We're a mid-sized agency doing pretty good. As you probably know, we are the largest city in Manatee County, and we are the county seat. Let me start by saying the city of Bradenton is an extremely safe place to live and raise your families. Crime is down 6.5% over the past 5 years, so thank you for that. And 86% of the crime that we do have is directed towards property and not towards people. We serve over 53,000 residents and police 193 miles of roadway. Our police officers on average respond to about 50,000 calls of service per year. When you call 911 here in the city, assuming it's a priority 1 call, these are the really bad ones going on, life-threatening situations, burglaries in progress to occupied homes, robberies, that kind of thing. You can expect a just under 5-minute response time, and 7 minutes, by the way, is a national average, so we're doing quite well in that regard. On average, we make roughly 2,900 arrests within the city, and we write on average of 6,000 citations. So a little bit more about who I am. I was 18 years old and working loss prevention at Montgomery Wards. Y'all remember Montgomery Wards? I don't think that they have that anymore. I was tasked with the distinctive responsibility of catching shoplifters from that little space between the ceiling and the roof. Remember those mirrors that you used to see up in the corners of the department stores? I was the one looking down at people from them. And I would identify shoplifters and catch them with only a radio and a set of handcuffs. I actually still have the slight hint of a bite scar on my forearm that resulted from me chasing down and apprehending a young man who had stolen a ball cap. I had to chase him through the mall and grab him, and he bit down on me. Needless to say, I took my job very, very seriously, and I was certain that there could be no other career more influential or empowering than mine. It was about this time that my ego was shattered when I met two young female officers who had arrived at Montgomery Wards to pick up one of my shoplifters who had just recently joined the ranks at the Clearwater Police Department. These ladies were out protecting entire cities, making a difference in their communities, and most importantly, getting to actually arrest the people that I was chasing down and getting bitten by. So ultimately, it was their influence that led me to seek out a new profession. So I got hired after only about 2 years as an officer. I was sent over to work as an undercover detective. My name was Kathy Peters, and I had the big 80s, late 80s permed hair. It was like out to here that I'd wear up in one of those banana clips. Ladies, y'all remember that? At 6 foot, $130, I had that look. I'd ride around on my bike in the Jennifer Beals. Anybody remember? The flash dance, the tank top, the big sweatshirt so I could hide my wire and my gun underneath. And I would buy crack all day. That was my job. But being Kathy Crackhead doesn't really make you a standout in policing circles. And so eventually I made the decision that I probably needed to move on from that. After about 5 years, I transitioned back to the street. I did a variety of things, SWAT team, field training officer, and I began climbing through the ranks. At the same time, and this was in the early 90s, higher education within the policing ranks started catching on. I had some great male mentors early on, and I mention that because women in policing only comprised about 7%, and most of them weren't high-ranking, so there really wasn't any of them for me to lean on back then. But these male mentors encouraged me to go back to college as I had dropped out to become a police officer. It seemed much more fun at the time. Begrudgingly, I juggled full-time work and college classes for 6 years to earn my bachelor's degree. Deciding school wasn't so bad after all, I trudged through another 4 years to add a master's degree to my cubicle wall. By this time, I'd received 2 successive promotions and was doing pretty well. Like many working women, I decided to have children during what I thought was the height of my career. In 2001, I traveled abroad to adopt 2 boys under the age of 2. In an instant, my priorities shifted quite a bit, and being a mom suddenly outranked a lot of other things work-related. But after 3 busy yet fulfilling years raising my kids and getting them off to kindergarten, I began to realize that education had really thus far contributed to my success and really personally did a lot for me. I really enjoyed it more than I thought. Consequently, I made the final commitment to obtain my doctorate degree. And this was still before online classes were available. I actually had to show up to school, which I achieved in 2011. And I'd like to think that that decision has opened many doors along the way for me, including the one I walked through about 3 weeks ago. So changing gears. Over the years, I've come to realize that as a leader in my organization, it falls to me to seek out and create the consensus to move forward in spite of obstacles, and that truly there's no such thing as change without learning. And really the best leaders, I find, have great questions as opposed to great answers. And if you ask anybody at BPD, I hit the door at about 7:30 in the morning, and all I've been doing is asking questions. Lots and lots of questions, truly getting to learn this community. One of my functions as chief is to design the setting for people to learn how to collaborate from a strength-based capacity-building approach that helps us discover new and better ways of doing things. It's about identifying and exploring innovative ideas that we really want to see more of, and it's strength-based as opposed to rehashing and dissecting our mistakes, which we would call deficit-based. Now, in policing, deficit-based performance can be the difference between life and death. I've made clear to our personnel that our reputation and our integrity within the community matters to me. It matters to me a great deal. And therefore, I believe that the future of policing in Bradenton must involve collaborative partnerships, innovative technology, and a continuation that was started by Chief Raz of the established community policing framework with a new accompaniment of community-infused, data-driven policing. I intend to reach out to all areas of this great city and begin building and fostering new and existing relationships with our community members, with our businesses, with our schools, because I am acutely aware that when a community stands behind its police department and actively partners with the men and women serving and protecting, that community becomes stronger. As individuals, we must be ambassadors of any changes we hope to see in our police force in our city, and as individuals in a community, we must come together as a collective force to make those changes a reality. Community governance is a phrase that I like to use because it speaks to a collaborative effort between all city agencies, organizations, groups, and with it really comes the recognition that we have an obligation to contribute to the success of community policing within our city. Internally, and under that model, I'm going to be focusing on things as training, promotions, hiring, accountability, and access to data by the community from our police department. So I tried to kind of think of something interesting that I know a little bit about. What are some of the more global issues that I think that our city and department need to consider in the years to come? Well, we should all recognize that cybersecurity is a growing issue that hasn't even begun to impact us as a nation and as a city in the ways that it has the potential to. Data at rest is data at risk, and like it or not, the world of bits and bytes impacts the world we live in. Consequently, encryption must become more prevalent. Utilities companies, pipelines, air traffic, these are all significant areas that we must, it surrounds us. It surrounds us as we sit here today. And we really just need to understand that they're very vulnerable to hacking and understand that we need to do our part in protecting them. The city has a very robust and secure system in place, but every day we face new challenges, as I'm sure those of you within your corporations and businesses realize. And I challenge you all today to do what you can to improve the security of your systems from a cyber standpoint. Social networking, right? Any of you all who have kids understand that. It also plays very significantly into this trend due to the connectivity that we all share, really with everything and everyone around us. That parlays into our continuing fight on terrorism. I possess a secret clearance that allows me the privilege to be briefed on issues that, frankly, I wish I hadn't been briefed on after they've told me that. What we find is that as the various terrorism networks are fractured by U.S.-led efforts, we find the topology of the networks evolving. Nowadays, you see a mixture of chain, hub, and mesh networks that keep us guessing where they are and what they're up to, because the problem is if you can't find them, you can't fight them. Imagine the game Battleship, right? Each side guessing where the other side is with pegs all over the place. Well, that's sort of what we're faced with this fight on terrorism, both domestically and abroad. So that was 12 minutes. My time is up, and I hope this has given you a glimpse of who I am and the future of policing within our friendly city. I'm looking forward to both the challenges and the successes that I know BPD will encounter along the way. I want to publicly thank Mayor Poston again for selecting me to further the excellent work done by Chief Raz. I couldn't have asked for a better agency to walk into, and also congratulate you one more time on your very well-earned retirement. And finally, to everyone else, thank you for welcoming me into the city. As I said before, it's a city that I now call home, and so thank you.
Now, with every chamber VIP luncheon, we have a question and answer period. So if anybody, I know there's a lot of folks in this room that I've seen ask some nice questions in the past. There's a microphone right over here to my right if anybody would like to get up and ask a question of either of our speakers today. Don't be shy.
I'll open the floor with the questions. I'm Allison from the Manatee Chamber of Commerce, Communications Director, and I live in Lakewood Ranch. I'm a single mom of a 21-year-old who goes to USF up in Tampa. And I don't know if I'm sheltered because I live in Lakewood Ranch, but I've been hearing on the news about like a heroin epidemic or some kind of big drug epidemic that we're having in Manatee County, and I never hear anybody talking about that. You know, I'm blessed my son doesn't drink, smoke, party, do anything. You know, he's too busy with the video games. But can you enlighten me a little bit if we do actually have a drug epidemic going on in Manatee County?
I'm going to let the Sheriff Stubbe's here, and let him talk a little bit about that.
You are living a sheltered life. We were number one in 2015 for overdoses and deaths attributed to heroin. This started in 2014. And the Bradenton Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, and the Statewide Prosecutors Unit, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, and the Sarasota Sheriff's Office, we all partnered together. And I can't tell you what type of investigation it was, but we just brought that to a partial conclusion about 3 weeks ago. And we arrested 15 people. Trafficking charges were a part of that, and trafficking means that not so much how much drugs you have, but it's if you're convicted of trafficking, it's a 3-year minimum mandatory in state prison if you're found guilty, and then there are thresholds. And with heroin, the threshold for trafficking is 4 grams, and a gram is about the size of a sugar packet, so it's very little. The deaths that were attributed to that were because the heroin was being cut with fentanyl, which is probably 75% more powerful than the heroin that was being put out there on our streets. We have a chemist at the Sheriff's Office, and during our undercover investigations, we would be buying this heroin and we would be testing it to see where the fentanyl was coming from. We traced that back, and as a result of our investigations, we were able to quickly make an arrest, actually 2 arrests, on those persons that were doing and cutting the heroin with fentanyl. So this year there's only been 1 death attributed to the overdose of heroin. And we had just, it was overwhelming, really.
What is fentanyl? Where do they get it?
It's a man-made substance that is used for the relief of pain, generally speaking when you're going to be operated on, in very, very minute doses. And this is either being brought in through China or Mexico, or it can actually be locally made. So did that get you in Lakewood Ranch?
I just want to add on, and this again is a testament to Chief Raz and the sheriff. My frame of reference is Pinellas County, but I will tell you, this news conference broke out 4 days after I was on the job, and really to see the cooperation amongst all the agencies that were involved, that's something I'm not quite used to. A very good relationship law enforcement has in this county. You see some of the other police chiefs here, the fire chief, that's something quite special, and I think that speaks to the success of that operation and really what is going to keep policing within this whole region really at a high level. So just something to be aware of.
Hi, I'm Johnette, and I live, work, and play in downtown Bradenton with Realize Bradenton. And I just want to thank Chief Raz for all the fabulous support from the police department for all our events downtown. But Chief Bevan, I'd like to know on a lighter note, if you had free time, what do you do to have fun or entertainment? So we could plan for that in downtown Bradenton.
So I do a couple things. Obviously, my kids are a bulk of my free time. I like to be out on the water. I actually catch my own stone crabs. I have traps. I bait. I harvest. I make sure that they're legal. I used to freeze them and then get a big collection up. Now I don't even do that. If I get two crabs, yeah, I grow my own wheatgrass. All right, so I'm not sure we'd have a wheatgrass growing event down here, but I like to try to eat organically. It's baseball season, like the mayor said. That's a great pastime. Enjoy doing that with my family. That's about it. Anything, I like to say that I go fishing, but the fishing part never really works out, so then I just say I go boating. So I guess you can say fishing. I just don't go catching, because that doesn't really happen.
How old
So.
are your children?
They're 16 now. They're 16, so, and juniors in high school. So.
Any other questions? I'll take the liberty to ask one, Chief. Do you see, two questions, do you see any similar challenges in the city of Bradenton that you experienced in St. Petersburg? And number two, and if you could elaborate on that. And number two, will you be checking out the Major League Baseball paraphernalia at McKechnie Field to make sure that they're selling the proper?
When I was there the other day in the box, we had 2 errant balls fly in there, and I'm looking around for the authenticator. He was actually there. He was going to go throw a hologram on there. It's amazing to me that St. Pete is just right over the bridge, because that bridge really seems kind of like quite a barrier in some regards. But policing, I'm not going to insist that it's a one-stop shop, but there's some things that are just, policing in one city is really the same as policing in the other. It's very transferable in a lot of ways. In many ways, what's really just so desirable about this community is I really feel like you have the opportunity to really touch a lot more residents. It's just big enough and it's just small enough. Everybody seems to know everybody, and that is really just a great benefit for law enforcement efforts. I really am excited about, community policing in some cities. I feel like it's just kind of become that word that they throw out without really understanding what it means and what it can accomplish. I truly believe what I said, that I really think that it can become a framework that can be modeled by other cities, just because it only took me about 2 days to start figuring out. When I talked about terrorism with mesh hub networks, I could do that with the city of Bradenton. There's just connections everywhere here, and it really just makes for a strong community that I haven't seen in a lot of other places. And so, it's the same, it's different. Talking about the heroin epidemic, you go across the bridge, and that's not what's plaguing them right now. It's crack cocaine. It's relative, but I think we have our own issues, and crime is really on the downward trend right now. 6.5%, 5 years, and the mayor said it's down about 38% over the past decade. So I think we're doing a lot of things right. I think I answered your question. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Misty Servia, and I just wanted to say congratulations, Chief Raz, and thank you for all of your service. You've just done an incredible job. Welcome to the new chief. Something I was very excited to hear you say is that you really are going to be proactive about collaboration, and I heard especially with our schools. I'm very excited about that, because I think that as a community, if we can all leverage our talents to lift each other up, we all do proportionately. So just a comment to welcome you. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for doing so.
Congratulations, Chief Bevan. We're making history here by having you as our chief, and we're so excited about the opportunities that lay ahead of us. I am also happy to hear about your interest in collaboration, and we can do so much with public and private partnerships. We have, under the mayor's leadership, made great strides in our community here, and I want to congratulate Mayor Poston, for all that you've done in leading our organization to a point where we've collaborated with the county and with the schools and with the nonprofits that are part of the infrastructure here that make this such a wonderful place to live. Chief Bevan, you mentioned that you like to ask a lot of questions, and you described a leadership style that I thought was really interesting. And as a woman, we have research that shows that as we raise these young girls, they learn so much through role models. And you present a great opportunity for them to see a role model that they haven't seen yet here in Bradenton. And I'm glad you like statistics too, because one of my favorites is one that was done by the Metropolitan U.S. Statistical Areas, where they surveyed all the female mayors in those areas, and 99% of them attended an all-girls school. You touched a little bit on the fact that you had role models. Could you describe a little bit more about that circuitous path from when you were 20 and how you were doing undercover drug work to the point that you've reached this leadership position and all the things that come into play for you, including the role models that talk to you, but a lot of it, your own determination. How would you describe that for the young girls that are growing up now? And thanks to you here in Bradenton, have someone that they can see that opens up possibilities for themselves as well.
As I said, I've been very blessed along the way with some great mentors, and it hasn't really stopped for me. It's oftentimes when you look at transfers and placements, I'm sure for all of you, and potentials for new jobs, it's about the right fit. It's whether you feel like you can work effectively and successfully with somebody, and whether you're going to be in a position where you're going to continue to learn and continue to be mentored. And I really, truly felt that I found that the day I sat down with Mayor Poston. Obviously, he must have had that same good feeling. And I walked away saying, you know, I can continue learning in this position, which is what I plan to do. And throughout the years, I've had so many people that have provided. I'm not one of those people who's going to stand up and always tell you that I know the right way and it's my way. Sometimes there's a time and a place for that, right? In policing, oftentimes you have to lead the charge and take the hill and don't ask questions, but oftentimes we can step back and reflect and inquire, and I try to take on that style, and I've learned that throughout the years by trial and error, right? I've failed many a times, and it's always about being able to pick yourself up from those failures, I think, that define your character the most. Those individuals or leaders that continue to just succeed after succeed, you know, those aren't the ones that you really learn from. It's the mistakes and how you learn and grow from that. And I've had people that they've, you know, been quick to let me know that I've screwed up and here's how to fix it. But it's made me who I am today. And that's the short answer. But I think you and I will get an opportunity, and I'm very excited about working with your organization in the future. I think mentoring is one of the most important things many of us can do within our schools and to some of our young people, and it's something I take very seriously. I've been a mentor in the school system for 20 years, and I plan on continuing that. So, but thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your great questions. Yes. Police Commissioner and Mayor.
Never even wear a microphone, it's always a problem. But one of the things I want to talk about, I want to make sure everybody understands, Chief Bevan didn't get that job because she's a woman. She got that job because she was the best qualified candidate. And she's the best qualified candidate. She's the best qualified candidate because in the city of Bradenton, this council and councils before them, what we did is we opened the hiring pool. People who never got considered before are now in that pool. We have the first black department head we'd ever had. We had the first female department heads we'd ever had because they were in the hiring pool and got an opportunity to compete for jobs. It's exactly what has happened here. So we got to thank the city council and for their thoughts and what they're doing on this, because the hiring pool is open to everybody in Bradenton. We just want to make sure everyone understands that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Raz, and thank you, Chief Bevan. We welcome, on behalf of Manatee Chamber of Commerce, we welcome you to your hometown. We appreciate that. A few more items before we leave. We have some upcoming events. We have a VIP luncheon with USF football coaches, some local legends, if you will, on March 14th. We have Pancakes and Politics on March 17th, so you can come discuss issues with your local legislative delegation. Former Congressman Dan Miller will be discussing presidential politics April 4th. And the Manatee Chamber will host a membership appreciation lunch on March 18th at our downtown office. So please come by and have a complimentary lunch on us. And all the flyers related to these events are located at the front desk on your way out. So thank you all for coming this afternoon. I enjoyed it. We learned a lot, and we look forward to learning more and working with our new chief. Thank you.